bells are, and have been for hundreds of years, a part of our sound landscape. First of all, they mark important occasions in people's lives, particularly weddings, funerals, other occasions of joy and of sadness. They say, in effect, we matter, that you matter, that the couple standing at the altar about to commit their lives to one another matter. And bells remind us of that. They also, church bells have historically rung out in warning. They're a way of saying to the community or to the nation, something bad is happening and we need to be alert. So they celebrate our lives, but they also say life is not perfect. In fact, sometimes it's really dangerous, and that there are things that we need to pay attention to as communities.
And then behind him is Harry.
Harry Saltern.
And who's this with the moustache?
That is Edward Elford. He was a retired farmer from Boscastle.
Okay.
And then the man next to him
with the fancy hairstyle
is Aaron Piper, and he lived up to Wen.
Bicycle clips.
With his bicycle clips on. Yeah, and on the end is Fred Scott, who lived at Tintagel. Yeah, as a boy, I can remember them all ringing. It used to be Father and me used to come ringing, and Fred Scott up Tintagel, and he used to pick us up in his Marseilles and bring it down. You'd have Mr. Alford there from Boscastle, he was always year 5. Like when you got that photo of everybody in, I remember all them ringing, and when they all died away, I don't know who else rings today.
They are the one thing in a church that people can hear and not see. That's the community connection with the bells. You know, it is a community-based thing. I know that, and everybody who rings at our place and that, they respect the church and they'll do anything for the church, but it's not solely that. It's what I explained earlier. It's literally about the community. But it is very difficult when bells become unringable to actually get them back. It's very saddening. It's very saddening that when you see I mean, for me, when you drive past that church and you think, blimey, there's some decent bells in there, and the church has gone into decline. And so if you lose the band of ringers and then you lose the one person, the kingpin perhaps, or the 2 people in the village or town who have been pushing the ringing, and then the single bell stops being rung for Sundays, then there's no interest in the church. There's no interest from the congregation in the church. They're like, oh, well, the bells aren't ringing, don't worry about it. And then that's the slippery decline, I'm afraid.
I think they just sell them for scrap. We have had that here before, you know, like bells, you know, they come from the town and tailors have bought them for scrap.
In 1932, I was born. I used to walk to school every day. 3 miles there and 3 miles back. If it was very bad weather, my brother would come halfway to meet me with a pony and put me on the pony.
In my early days, we walked. I mean, not many people had a car.
We were a big family. We were, I had 1 sister and 2 brothers. We had a farm. When our farmhouse was out in the wilds.
I was 10 when I got when I learned to ring. 10.
When I was used to come here as a young child, no electric or nothing in here. I mean, when I first started ringing, we used to ringing. We had a wedding, ring for a wedding, which is great. We'd come down, you know, spend a lot of time here ringing for a wedding. And when I started, it was 6 bells, £1 a bell. And then we put it up to £10 fee for ringing for a wedding, and we'd ring before the service, after the service, delighted to ring. And then we used to ring harvest festivals, was a big time. Another place we went ringing was Advent Church. We always had a gymkhana every year, and we'd go out there and ring in the church field, and we'd always ring all day long, and different ones would come from different parishes and ring Advent bells all day.
I do like to hear them in the distance. It's lovely.
I mean, ringing's been in my family through Dad's influence, and that he taught me to ring. We used to go for a drink, and me and Dad would sit down, and people who've got no interest in ringing will come up to you and ask you where the bells are, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, when I learned to ring, you spent more of your evening repairing a rope than you did ringing, because you'd ring and then it'd break, and you just get all set up again, and then another bell rope would break. So up and down the tower and splicing ropes was more than bell ringing. You were 6 bells, all right? You've got the lightest one, which is the treble, and then you've got the heaviest one, which is the tenor. Right, 6. So you go ring. We used to ring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll start with the bell is just hanging. And first of all, you've got to get the bell up and swing as you rising the bell. This is roughly it. Rising the bell all the time. A little pull, you got the rope coiled around your hand and that. And as the bell goes higher, so you let out more rope. All right. And then when you finish, you bring it down gentle, winding your rope in a bit shorter every time. We always had our annual outing every year. Fry's coach from Tintagel and a bus load, or so many as wanted to go. More non-ringers than ringers. And
but it was a social occasion, wasn't it?
Used to end up in Plymouth. I had the Saturday night in Plymouth. That was a great thing. So, say no more. Well, my cousin was married. Margaret and Joan would have been married here. Leighton was married here. Andrew was married here.
Our daughter was married here, not the boys.
I was christened
my sister,
at the font there.
My sister was married here. My youngest brother.
Come and have a look at the garden. Do you want a cabbage? Yes, they would. Or if they had logs, they'd say, oh, well, take some home. They shared, didn't they? But they did, they shared everything they had. And stress, well, I don't think we ever heard that word. Did we? No. I don't think so. I never heard it. I never heard my mother say, I'm stressed. No, I didn't. And she cooked all day long. Well, she had to. We always had a house full of visitors.
So anyhow, that was sort of the story of Peter Cummins, and he didn't have a great following. See, several people tried to learn with him. I get somebody now will say,
yes, but it was his new system, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was ringing before you know, he invented the machine. Like, it was quite later on in his ringing time, I think. I don't think I ever seen the machine.
I got involved with a ringing machine built by John Carter around about 1900. It was a fiendishly complicated mechanical device, and my theory is that he built it to prove that it could be done because his friends all said it couldn't. As well as the Carter machine, I was also taking on a collection of Peter Cummins machines. So I said, who's Peter Cummins? Ah, well, he was an electronic engineer. When he retired, he decided to move to Cornwall, and he actually moved to this village. His wife got involved with the local ladies of the village and discovered that they were into handbell ringing. And she talked to her husband about it, and he said, oh, I think I could knock up something that would do change ringing for you, and then you could practice with that. So he produced the first of his many ringing machines. If you look back here, there are some wires down there which Peter Cummins installed, and he could connect these in. And by having a sensor on the bell up aloft, you can do a sort of solo practice there against the machine doing the rest of the bells.
We used to just do chord changes when I was on. And then we had to have somebody who could call these changes. It was on a card hanging up in the tower. You'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'd have 2 to 3. Number 2 and number 3 would swap over.
My real passion is chord change ringing. So chord change ringing, you know, where people are shouting changes and things like that. That's what I was brought up on. And it's, you know, to achieve decent striking.
Number 1 leads the bells, 1 is first, then to be 1, 2, and then he'd call, I say, 3 to 2. So 3 would then go in, I hope I got this right, 3 would go in beyond number 1, and number 2.
If you have 3 bells, if you think about it, you can go 1, 2, 3, or you can go 1, 3, 2, or you can go 2, 1, 3, and so on. So there are 6 permutations. A method usually is a way of getting through these different permutations. When you get to 4 bells, it goes up from 6 to 24. By the time you get to 8 bells, there's 40,000.
3 would go in beyond number 1, and number 2 would be second, and then they go 4 to 2, and 4 would then go in beyond the third, and number 2 would then be in the fourth place.
We're in this field to see if we can find the casting pit where the bells of Lanteglos were cast in 1783. We're looking for some indentations in the ground that might be the remains of the casting pit. But we're also looking at the yew tree, which allegedly, tradition has it, was planted to mark the spot. We'll go and have a look. The process of casting bells in the ground was a very common occurrence in the 18th century, and there were bell founders that went around from church to church, and in fact the ones that did this pit here apparently cast over 1,000 bells around Cornwall. Nobody's quite absolutely certain exactly how it was done. They're pretty sure they know the materials that we used, so it's a mixture of bricks and clay and straw and dung and sometimes horsehair as well. And the idea is that that would make a bell shape, and the molten metal was poured in from the top. Well, here's the yew tree. It looks surprisingly old to me. Yes, that's fascinating. It is absolutely massive. I have to say that is really impressive. Probably the most impressive yew tree I've ever seen. One of the nice stories is that the people who were there from the village when the casting was going on threw silver coins in because they thought that would improve the sound.
I'm digging a pit so we can bury the bell, and we have to dig the pit around half the depth of the bell. And then we will backfill, we'll completely fill the hole again up to ground level, and that helps with the solidifying in the bell, which slows down the pooling process.
The letters to be careful of is an I. They're quite a thin letter. A lot of like an S there is a little bit thicker in certain points, so you can go in a little bit more. But an I, I'd be wary of.
Then when it's all the shroudings are on, then we'll trim all these up and clean them all up. Then we take the wheel off the table, clean the outside, then we do the same the other side.
The bells have a very complex sound structure of overtones and things.
From the top is nominal, quint, hum, quint and the fundamental, so the 5 note.
There's not many places that have a process like this. I say they're the only bell foundry left in the UK as well.
I feel very privileged working on something that can only be done through your hands and the tool.
It's traditional how they used to be 100 and 200 years ago, exactly the same. This dial and everything and that, everything's the same, nothing's really changed.
It's very difficult, it's very few people in the country can do this job. And the youngster, it's difficult to find a manual machinist these days because the engineering is going out from the country. When people retire, it's not been replaced to do the manual machining.
And you can't learn it in, a couple of days. It's got to be, things like this. It's got to be like, a couple of years before you could really leave them on their own to learn everything and that on a wheel.
We was really sort of taken aback when Whitechapel closed a few years ago, because that was like London, the hub, like a mainstream place.
This is the only foundry left in England. And like I say, when Whitechapel closed down 2 years ago, like I say, this is the last traditional bell foundry. In the 60s, with all this overtime, what we used to do, it just showed you how much work we had at Taylor's. And like I say, when I first came here, there were 7 people worked in the joinery shop.
And how many now?
2.
This machine is specially made to tune in the bell. I think it's 139 or 140 years old. All this 3 machine is 140 years old.
You know, I don't know if this place will still exist or what. You know, got no idea really. But, you know, over the years I've seen the work dropping off to what it was when I first come here. It's hard to say really, ain't it? Really. You know, I wouldn't like to say.
An amazing lady, though.
Oh, Mrs. Apps.
Mrs. Apps, yes. She used to have, on Ascension Day and other church days, she'd have church children always out of
Day
school.
home from school if you was at church town.
So you'd be in the Camelford Park playing cricket and games all day. Anything to get out of school.
They respected the policeman and the school teacher, the nurse, the doctor. They respected them all, didn't they? I think so. More so than they do now. Oh, the policeman's coming. But now, they take no notice, do they? They don't. It's sad, really. Well, I think we had 3 butchers in Camelford. Hardware shops, I think we had 3. And they all lived. Didn't they? But now you see it's send away online. It'll never go back, will it? To all these shops. I don't think it's going to happen. No. I used to play board games with the children. Well, the farmers around used to come to our place to play darts. And then we had other neighbours that come up, my father and I, and these other neighbours used to play bridge. They'd come to our house and play darts, have a wonderful evening. Laugh and joke. But they don't do it as much. They have to have their entertainment made for them, don't they? Or the phone.
Excellent. And what we got in it? That's old, isn't it? So this is a really old design of clapper. Now, as you can see, that ball is rather flat. A normal clapper ball, when he hits a bell, he should be less than half my fingernail. That's been in there a fairly long time, and that's fairly worn.
I mean, I've noticed that, you know, over the years, you know, people are with the churches now, when they lock them up, they never used to do years ago, they'd be left open.
That's fantastic, Alex. You would have one of them at home.
It's so sad, really, to see it happening like that. You know, like so when, you know, can't get in the church.
This was an old friend of my father's who used to sail old-fashioned sailing boats up around Scotland.
We took out a couple of bolts and nuts there which were square, and they're square shaft. Now they're made by blacksmiths, so they're really old because they're actually forged bolts, so made out of square, hammered in a hammer press and then threaded somehow. So yeah, they're fantastic. It's fantastic to find that.
I like coming down here and put net faces and that to all headstones, you know, when I was a boy. Like, oh, he had a shop in Calvert which repaired primuses, and he was the blacksmith and different things, yeah.
So the next step, we're going to remove the stay, this piece of wood here, and take the stay off. We'll do that, shall we?
We are. There's my parents there. There's Raymond Hobbs. He's a Calvert boy. I went to school with Raymond. Don't know so much about them. Who's that one?
Peter Pryor.
Peter Pryor, yeah.
They had Pryor's shop in Camelford.
Oh, well, that was easier than expected. Right, together. And there we go.
When they die, the story go with them, really, doesn't it?
Well, when we came to Tregoodville first, when the light evenings come, the children would be out playing. Lovely, you could hear them on their bikes. You don't see them now, but of course, you can't afford to let them out, can you? Not really. Ours used to go to the park, spend hours there, but I wouldn't let my grandchildren or great-grandchildren go there now on their own, not down the park here. Well, I don't, there's too many sick people around, isn't there? Ours used to spend hours down there. And I don't know why this has happened. We never used to lock our doors, did we? We did. No. But you do now. It'll never go back, will it? Never. Never.
And bells remind us of that. They say, in effect, we matter, that you matter. And that person who has died and whose life is being celebrated, they matter. That we as humans are not just kind of a bundle of DNA that happens to be here for 70 years and then, on we go. You matter.
The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd winds slowly o'er the lea. The ploughman homeward plods his weary way, and leaves the world to darkness and to me.
Now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight, and all the air a solemn stillness holds, save where the beetle wills his droning flight, and drowsy tinklings lull the distant folds.
Beneath those rugged elms that yew trees shade, where heaves the turf in many mouldering heap, each in his narrow cell forever laid, the rude forefathers of the hamlet sleep. For them no more the blazing hearth shall burn, or busy housewife ply her evening care. No children run to lisp their sire's return, or climb his knees the envied kiss to share.
Let not ambition mock their useful toil, their homely joys and destiny obscure, nor grandeur hear with a disdainful smile the short and simple annals of the poor.
Perhaps in this neglected spot is laid some hearts once pregnant with celestial fire, hands that the rod of empire might have swayed, or waked to ecstasy with the living lyre.
But knowledge to their eyes her ample page, rich with the spoils of time, did ne'er unroll. Chill penury repressed their noble rage, and froze the genial current of the soul.
Far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife, their sober wishes never learnt to stray. Along the cool, sequestered vale of life, they kept the noiseless tenor of their way.